What to do, my Twitch crew? It's your boy P-Lo, going live on Twitch today with a little design and talk. This last Tuesday was draw and talk. Today's design and talk. I think I'm gonna tackle maybe some remixed overlays for my Tuesday Thursdays, because if I do a draw talk, then maybe something more draw talk centric, and if I do a design talk, maybe a little something more design talk centric. But welcome, bienvenidos. Let's flip it over. Hi everybody, welcome to today's stream. What up, Twitch world? So on the agenda today, you guys can see I have Photoshop open in the background, and I'm going to tackle a little design overlay for Twitch in Photoshop. It's 2021, so I'm thinking I need to create a new start screen, probably a new end screen, and then everything in between, except for the transition. The transition I have is probably one of my favorites right now, and it throws it back to one of the Batmans that I actually enjoyed watching. So welcome, bienvenidos. Glad you guys are here. Make sure you guys join the chat. I got the chat on my right side so I can look over and be like, yo, what up? And get that stuff going. But yeah, man, just a little design centric stream today, right? Because like I said, it's 2021 and some of my stuff needs a little updating. Although the overlay you guys are looking at here right now, I designed it for the summer, over the summer, and it has a lot of elements that I used on my business card, so we're gonna switch things up, and you know, maybe a little bit more comic booky, because if you guys know P-Lo, then you know he loves the idea of comic books and drawing and illustration and all that stuff. Which is usually a lot of the stuff that I do on stream. So I'm gonna take my teaching skills and apply them to the stream today, and hopefully help people out understand how to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that in Photoshop, and creating those overlays or creating yourself an overlay, some of the basics, and then we'll go from there. But welcome, bienvenidos. Like I said, right now you guys get to see my Photoshop screen. So what I'm gonna do, very simple. There's two ways of doing this, actually three ways, right? I can go to File, New, and create a new document. I'm gonna create new, or I can do Control N on the keyboard. Because I'm on a PC right now. If I was on Mac, that'd be Command N, because I know my Mac keystrokes a lot easier, a lot more fluidly than I do my PC strokes. But you know, it's a world where you understand both, right? So you can't see this, which is a bummer, right? Let me see if I can fix that real quick. It's kind of funny that it did that, and it's funny that it doesn't recognize this as an actual option for Photoshop. So I'll switch the screen up real quick. So this is the screen that I'm looking at on Photoshop right now. This is the recently used save templates pre-installed concepts of what you can do with Photoshop. Hey Nat, how's it going? So this right here is where I'm gonna start my world, right? Recently I did open up a file that was 1920 by 1080, which is screen size, right? And ideally when I start designing anything for Twitch, it starts off in 1920 by 1080, and then I make adjustments based off what shapes I'm using for the design, and then I go from there. I have my save section, which also comes in handy, because when it comes to being a designer, it's all about being efficient, and the faster you can complete a job, the faster you can get that paycheck and all that fun stuff. It's the stuff I tell my students all the time, right? So I have a lot of my templates pre-saved. I have a list. Oh, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that, Roman. So I have all my templates. I gotta add more. It's all about efficiency, right? And I teach my students the same thing. My work computer, my Mac, has all this stuff already pre-programmed. My home PC, not so much, because this is like my gaming setup and iPad to the screen stuff. So let's go to my recent. I'm gonna hit this. I'm gonna name it 2021, not 2010. Wowzers, 2021 draw and talk. I'm just gonna go underscore, because I don't know if the ampersand will throw off the name of everything. I'm gonna go 300. So 300 usually is if I'm gonna print something, right? But I always like working on the high quality side and then saving it for the web stuff, and then it works out perfectly still. Background, I'm gonna leave it white. I could change it to transparent, but it's okay. I'll show you guys what I end up doing afterwards. So I'll hit create new, and let's switch it back up so you can actually see my Photoshop screen. So once I hit create new, this document shows up. Let me place it back in spots. Let me block this person that wants to make me famous, because I don't care. Block. Deuces! Let me change my mouse settings, because they're set to gamer mode, so everything moves really fast. And in Photoshop, I don't have to do. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know I didn't give you guys I didn't give you guys mod roles because I figured you guys mod enough, and I don't have 50 plus viewers, so right now I'm cool. I just, I appreciate you guys, and I don't want to overwork you all, so hence why I'm here. And I haven't given you guys are just VIPs for me. You're very important people to me. So Roman, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, my overlay right now is pretty basic, and sometimes I think less is more, so I don't try to overdo it. But it's it's something I could always overdo if I wanted to. So like I said, right here is 1920 by 1080. 1920 by 1080. Screen size. If it was 4K, it'd be bigger, right? But I'm not working in 4K world, and nor is my computer, so I'm not going to push it that realm. I'm already thinking in my head, since I'm designing for myself some new overlays for the new year, color wise, right? So the color you guys see on my current overlay right now, that's cyan. So when it comes to the printing, there's 4 colors that mix in together to give you all these beautiful millions of colors together. It's cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. Cyan's always been a color that I've leaned to because I'm a big fan of blue, and it just kind of works out that way. Nah, no worries. Thank you. Yeah, everything you mentioned, I've learned to do and I've done. So, hopefully, like me jumping on doing this stuff right now, helping people out, it comes in handy, right? So, you guys are looking at my Photoshop, and like I was saying, I kind of have colors in mind that I wanted to lay it out. I recently did the thumbnail for my last show. It's this one. So I went in red, white, and blue, and yellow, not to be patriotic or anything like that. The blue is Dodger blue, so is the red. The white and the blue, the white and the yellow, those just tie into the idea. Also, there's low-key the colors of Superman's suit. So if you guys don't know, I'm a big Superman fan, and I try to tie all that stuff into me so you guys can realize and learn a little bit more about myself. So even when I create my thumbnails, I always try to tie in those little elements. Oh, thank you. Those little elements in the photo. I just took it with my webcam. I'm like, hey, and it works, right? And I'll try to do that differently each time. But I was thinking of these 3 colors, maybe the yellow for my new overlay. And I was thinking, since do your lurk, Nat, it's okay. And I was thinking as I designed for this one, that it's an overlay I could flex. If I do design and talk on a Tuesday and not draw and talk, then I could flip them back and forth, and I have interchangeable designs. So let me go into my libraries. Cool thing is that Photoshop now, not like it did it in the back in the days, but now it allows me to create my libraries, give me all these files, and sort everything out, organize myself, right? I also tell everybody, even when I design, my layers are organized, like the groups are organized, everything's within a folder. And for example, can I open up my Monday Mixdown design? So this is my Monday Mixdown design I did for my crew, the Cerritos All-Stars. Double click. Everything's in a folder. All the important stuff are in a folder. So everything is organized, all the overlays, everything's set up in its own folder. And it works, and it's always good to be very, very organized, because if and if you've been a Photoshop user before, you can start to create and add all these layers, and then you're stuck with, like, by the time you're done, like layer 52, and then you're like, oh dang, dude, what layer was that on, right? So everything starts off from a clone, and then the clone I rework so that I don't have to recreate everything, because it's all about being efficient. So whether it's my starting soon screen, and I drop down the folder and you see everything that's inside the starting soon screen, and everything's named, so I know exactly, except for the vector one, but that's the logo. So that one I know it's the crew's logo. And the same thing goes for everything else, whether it's my up next and I turn off that one, then you can go side by side, 2 cameras, one DJ transitioning to the other. We could swap out the up next and on the decks and put so and so and so and so, and they could be like an interview talk. So all these things that I low-key start to think about sometimes while I sleep. So I'm gonna hit no because I don't need to save any changes. So here we are, new page, new layout, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety, right? So knowing our tools, there's a ton of stuff we can do. There's a ton of approaches, a ton of things we can actually tackle, right? I can go to my rectangular marquee right here that my mouse is on, and I can click, and I don't need any of those. I can just click and drag and make a selection, right? These marching ants shows up. I like to call them the dancing ants because I feel like they're dancing. And I can do a keyboard shortcut and fill it with the color, which is cool and all. But I've learned to not use my selections to do color fills unless completely necessary, right? So I'm gonna press Control D, Command D if you're on a Mac, and I'm gonna go to this little section right here. These are my shapes, even though it says Adobe. And I'm actually going to use these tools to set up everything, right? So I'm going to click in the middle of the screen. Another window pops up, which you probably can't see because of the way OBS is working. So I'm going to press 1920 by 1080 on it. Let me type it out correctly because I already have a typo. And then I'm going to get this black square that shows up on the screen. I'm going to go up to my toolbar. So up here, this little range where my mouse is going back and forth, it changes per tool. So depending on whatever tool you are, those settings will all be different. So you know, I'm gonna go right here where it says my align. I'm gonna change it to canvas because I want it to align to this white square that I started with. I'm gonna center it up horizontal and vertically. Horizontal and vertically. So everything gets lined up there, and boom, there we go. So I'm gonna go back to my libraries. I got my sports teams. I have friends that are Oakland fans. I don't know why pop art color showed up in there, but I'm gonna go pick my Dodger blue, and it automatically fills in that shape right there that I created with Dodger blue, which is cool. It's a cool start. Now, another thing I do is I'll usually clone this, right? Knowing that now right here, this square itself is 1920 by 1080, I'll press Control J. That's Command J if you're on a Mac. I'll press Control T. And I'm gonna hold Alt on the keyboard, and I'm gonna shrink it down equally and evenly. So this takes my 1920 and shrinks it down on all 4 quarters equally. It's not gonna be skewed, it's not gonna be off, it's not gonna be disproportionate. It's keeping its size, and that's important. You want to be able to keep your sizes. The one thing I also started doing, like right now, you guys see I'm on stream with you guys talking. I realized that I don't have to make that little talk window as big as I made it on mine. So I'll probably make it a little bit smaller. I did that with my teaching one. So Roman, hopefully this is helping you out. This is giving you some knowledge. So like I was saying, I'm probably not gonna make my window for myself that you see right now as big as it is on screen, right? Because it takes away from what I can show you guys. So what I'll end up more than likely doing, I'm just gonna pick this red for the time being. Let me hit return. So I'm out of transform mode because that was a Control T that I did. I'm gonna make it red just for the sake of, let me show you guys what's happening right now, right? So I'm gonna press the letter V, get my move tool, because it's all about being efficient, right? If you know your keyboard shortcuts, you can make everything a lot quicker, be done a lot faster, and all that fun stuff. So ideally, we want to make sure we show as much as possible. And I shrunk it down, keeping it a little bit smaller than 1920 by 1080, but it's within the same kind of aspect ratio. So when I set up my next window, or when I cut it out, and I know what I'm dropping in there or what screen I'm gonna be sharing with you guys when I'm on stream, then I know that in a sense it's equally gonna fit. I don't have to like pull here, pull there. It should generically fit there. So we got the red there. I got my square. And now it's all about placement, right? Like right now I keep myself on the left side. Do I want myself on the right side? Do I want myself somewhere else? What I was thinking, and this is a new concept that I was thinking, is that, you know, even if I kept my red square, let's center it back up, centered, full screen, so you get more Photoshop, right? I could green screen myself into the corner up here in my swatches and be like, yo, that's where the pillow is gonna sit, and then go from there. Like, because right now you guys see I have the blue screen behind me. It's not a blue wall, it's my blue screen. And I can have myself part of the Photoshop screen. And I could go overlay or with or without overlay at that point, because it wouldn't really matter. So ideally, this red square, I'm gonna hold Control and click. You guys see the marching ants, the dancing ants? They're back in for another dance session, even though the music in our ears isn't very dancey. I'm gonna hit my rectangle, and I'm gonna press Control Shift I. If you're a Mac user, that's Command-Shift-I, flips the inversion, the little dancing ants cover a little bit more. And now that I'm on my blue rectangle, I'm gonna hit this little guy right here at the bottom. It's known as a layer mask. I love to call it the Japanese flag because that's what it reminds me of, right? With these tools, I always try to make it something that's memorable, something that you'll remember, right? So I'm gonna click at the Japanese flag. You're like, dude, Pilo, nothing happened. Reality is something did happen. Let me turn off this layer by poking the eyeball. And I just cut out this square, but I didn't damage it. That's the cool thing about a layer mask, because a layer mask is a non-constructive way of making an edit. If I were to use a rectangular marquee, like I mentioned it earlier. Oh, welcome, NCEL Esports. Welcome, appreciate it. So, if I were to use a rectangular marquee to create a selection and then hit delete, well, one, that shape itself that I created is no longer. If I mess up, it's a start over. Oh, hey James, how's it going? Essentially by me using the rectangular shape and using the layer mask, my shape is still intact. So if I mess up, it's just removing the layer mask and I'm back to normal. So I'll show you guys. If I right click, delete the layer mask, that square's still intact. Nothing ever happened to it. It's not damaged. Boom shakalaka, it's good to go. So I'm gonna just Control Z so I can go back to it. And if you wanted to make it transparent, because ideally, right, when we create these overlays and we lay everything out, we don't want this white square. You could use it with the white square. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. We could totally rock with the white square, but the only issue is rocking with the white square means that when you're sending everything out on your streams, whether it's OBS or Streamlabs, is that this right here is the bottom part of the bread. And then all your other elements, your camera, your video capture, that's all the in-between. And then whatever the other little stuff is on top would be the top layer of the sandwich. It works, but I always like to turn off my background once I'm done laying everything out. This means these little checkered boxes mean that when I send it out, I export it out, that is see-through. There's nothing really there. So when I do the overlay and I say, for example, you look at my overlay right now, and I stretch out Photoshop bigger than it goes, obviously the overlay will cover it. It's not going to cover the overlay in that order. All right, Roman, thanks for stopping by. So, there's that idea, right? So like I was saying, I could put myself, I'm thinking of maybe I add myself to Photoshop if I'm doing a design day. If it's Illustrator, then I got to do the same thing. But if I'm doing art, that's another thing, right? So like I said, usually I start off, group everything, organize everything, and then I go from there. I need a little sip because I haven't been teaching in 3 weeks, and doing all this talking is making me really thirsty. Soda water, love it. All right, so here's my shapes, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety. So I'm gonna group this, right? I'm gonna group this. I'm gonna hit Control G, Command G if you're a Mac person. I'm gonna say full screen. That's if I don't want to be on the stream, or I'm not gonna give myself a little window to work with. Boom, we're full screen. Then I'm gonna hit Control J. I'm gonna duplicate this layer. I'm gonna duplicate this layer, turn off the layer underneath, and we're gonna go back into it. I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna delete this layer mask, wipe it out, donezo, be out of the way. And here's my canvas again, right? I'm gonna turn on the square, which is the same square that I started off with originally. I'm gonna Control T it, Command T if you're a Mac user. Right now I'm on the wrong layer, so let's make sure we're on the right layer. Control T. Holding down Option on the keyboard so I can shrink it down equally and evenly on all four corners. I'll pull it over this way just a bit. I'm gonna hit return. My move tool is already active because I used it to move it around. And then I'm gonna center it horizontally, not vertically, because it'll just take it all back to the middle. And it's not where I want it right now, right? So this window itself, I have a square right now for myself. On my current overlay right now, I have a square. At the same time, I could be like, you know what, maybe I don't want a square. Maybe this time I want to do a circle, how it is with my photo right there. Because ideally, like when I go live, it'd be like this, and you wouldn't get to see me. And then I just got to come in there and add my source, which since the source already exists, let's do a window capture. I'm gonna add the source. Hit Photoshop. This is what it looks like. But then I gotta adjust my layers adjust the layers of my sandwich, and then replace it, which is pretty norm. Except this time I'm doing it all the way live as an example. And then boom, there we are. So in this case, you get to see more Photoshop, you get to see all that fun stuff. And it works. Again, even at this point, it's a little bit, it's smaller than the full screen that I was just working on, that I just started on, right? So let's switch it back up. Boop. So now I get back to be back in the scene with you guys. And here we are, right? So as I was saying, the square is kind of a placeholder. It's gonna help me out. I'm gonna hit the letter A. It goes underneath this text. So if you guys notice, this icon right here, this tool got a little bit darker than the rest of them. That lets me know that's what's active, right? And if I hit Control, I can switch it to the white arrow, and I can move an anchor point if I had to. Let me Control Z that because I don't want to do that. Ideally, I'm gonna go to this toolbar, which I mentioned earlier. As you go through the tools, these toolbars on the top change, or like the sub tools. So I'm gonna turn off the fill, and I'm gonna apply the fill to be red. So now there's like a red outline around it, right? If I wanted it to be fancy, I'm gonna hit Control H real quick so I can turn off those guides, because they can turn off, turn on, and be hidden. So let's bump it up a little bit. Let's just make it a nice even number. Let's just make it an 8. So we got that there. I can make the stroke red as it is. I can do a gradient. And is there reds? I believe there is reds. It's not the reds I was looking for. It's kind of like the Instagram color right there. Like, huh? So I'm gonna go pick a red here. I didn't mean to fill it. That was an accident. I'm gonna pick a darker red here so that my color picker shows up, which again you can't see because the way I have my windows set up. It's okay, no big deal. So ideally, if you guys see my foreground background color is red, dark red, I can go into the stroke and be like, you know what? I think I'd rather use for my basics the colors I just created, and then that creates this, right? And eventually, if I wanted to, I can take this into After Effects and animate the color going around. Kind of, little something we could do. That's not what's on the agenda for me today, though. Keep it simple. Control-Shift-I, flip the ants around, go to my blue rectangle, and swipe it. Boom. So now it's see-through, and this is where the art session would be on, the Photoshop session right now, and all that fun stuff. And then since I have my libraries built, I'm gonna go to the folder that I just created for myself, the Larios files, right? So hypothetically, we're designing for Draw and Talk. Draw and Talk with P-Lo, that's me. So I can take my logo that I designed in Illustrator. Let's rearrange our layers, put it to the top. So now it's on top of it. Let's get my move tool, which is the letter V, and I can put that there. Cool thing that I'm in Photoshop is that even though this is a vector design, I can still do little tweaks to it that if I wanted to. One thing I don't know if you guys noticed, you see this little cloud next to it that lets you know that my icon's on the cloud. It's also a smart object, so it's not going to distort. A smart object has this little square at the bottom right that my little mouse is on, which is cool because you can increase, decrease without losing quality, right? That's the cool thing about being a vector. A raster is based by pixels, and it gets real fuzzy and weird if you start doing so to it, right? So I'm gonna double click. You know what? Let me switch things up. I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. So let me add a new source, because I don't think it's fair that you don't see. No, not a window. I want a screen. A display capture. There we go. Oop. Not that one. This one. And then we'll just move it to the bottom. This way you guys get to see everything. Let me turn off this one. Now you get to see every window that I pull in. You're not left out. So I apologize for that. There we go, cool. So, Draw and Talk obviously is a little bit hard to read because the darkness of the black on the blue, they're within spectrum realms of each other. So I'm gonna double click. Any day now, PC. There we go. This layer style window pops up, and I love this window because it gives us more little tools, man. Honestly, more little tools to modify and tweak things out and add little flares, right? So in this case, I'll put a stroke around the lettering. Obviously, black on black doesn't work out, so we'll just borrow this red right here. Boom. Now I'm gonna shrink the size of it because I don't want it to be like super potent, but you know, we want a little potency. And then what I could do also is, you know, it's cool that I made the text black, but I'm gonna change it to white and I'm gonna keep it at normal. All these different modes will do different things to the text. In this case, because it is black, it won't do too much. So I'm gonna hit OK. And then we got Draw and Talk with Pilo. And I gotta do another one that says Design and Talk. And then Sunday Fun Days. But Sunday Fun Days has the logo already. And if you're curious, it looks like this. See? So, like I was saying at the get-go, you know, I wanted to tie in the overlays to a little bit more of myself and my personality. Gosh, that is so cool. Time moments. And, you know, it's, you know, I have these ideas, and it's good to have ideas. I'm looking at my shapes over here. So my toolbars, my Photoshop probably looks different than your Photoshop, and it probably looks different than the next person's Photoshop. That's because everything's customizable, and I lay everything out to a way that works for me. So, you know, just a little heads up, right? So I'm gonna go get my comic lines, drop them there, and they're blue. I can make them yellow, boom, like so, just by clicking the color. I love that they give us this history bar because it gives us this awesome ability to go easily and quickly go snag the colors that we've used in the past. Control T, I'm gonna Alt and stretch it out. You know, I'm just gonna hold Shift on this one because it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm gonna try to kind of get the lines to focus into the middle of the screen, just to kind of get a vibe that that's the important section. This is where all the fun happens. El medio de la pantalla. And low-key, my Spanish isn't that bad. I was just messing with you guys. I'm gonna press return for now because it's a shape. I'm gonna control minus, command minus if you're on a Mac. I just zoomed out, right? I want to be able to hit the letter F, which gives me full screen because then I can move it around more, like just like so, like so. Control plus to zoom in, and then I'm gonna do a Control T. Now transform the pack, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety, cool. Control T, the error goes away. I'm gonna hold Shift and bring, you know what? Let's pull it out this way more. Because I want to keep these lines in the middle, even though I'm gonna wipe them out completely. You're like, yo, Pilo, why are you gonna wipe them out completely? Because I can. Control clips. That was a boo-boo. Bam. And I just held Alt, dragged it up, and applied this original layer mask to this, right? Now, I like the idea of the yellow. It does have that pop. As I design and talk. You see, I just flowed there, and you didn't even know it. I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it. I'm gonna double click because I want my layer style to pop open again, just like so. Now I'm gonna play with my blend modes to see which one of the blend modes kind of fits it a little bit better. Gives it like a cool vibe. And you see they all kind of play differently to the blue, because the blue is kind of playing with the idea of the yellow. Because obviously if I were to overlay it, well, blue and yellow gives you green, as you see there. A little color theory in the mix. If I keep it normal, I can lower the opacity so it becomes a little see-through, which isn't too bad. I'm gonna put it at a 50. I just like to keep it kind of equal. I'm gonna Control J it. The reason I'm Control J it, because I'm gonna try something. I'm going to try something, and I hope it works. Escape. I'm gonna right click on this one. I'm gonna rasterize the layer. Did I do it? Yeah, cool. And I'm gonna bring it back to 100. Remember, below it is see-through. So I'm gonna get my eraser. I'm gonna make it kind of quasi big. And that I'm using the brackets next to the letter P on the keyboard to increase the size of my brush. You can also, I believe it was Alt Shift. No, not Alt Shift. And it's erasing what I don't want it to erase. Alright, whatever. So let's go to my layer mask. Let's get a soft edge brush. Something not powerful. We want it to be a subtle loss of color. But we're going to do it in the actual... I'm going to shrink the brush down as I do it. Didn't like it. Just hitting Control Z to undo everything I just did. It happens. Cancel. Get my move tool back, which is the letter V. So we got that. Kind of got that. I could clone it again. Control J, like I did previously. I'm gonna Control T it. Let's zoom out a little bit, and then I can rotate it. Maybe move it over a little bit. It's also moving the layer mask, so I'm gonna delete the layer mask for the sake of what we're doing right now. And now this one, we can actually play with the colors a little bit more. Let me get my layer style to pop open. Also, don't want it too cray cray. I don't want it too busy. I almost made them yellow again. Well, it's because they are yellow. Whoopsie doopsies. All right, let's go back here. Not sure who would divide. That's not bad. Sometimes, what is it that Bob Ross says? Little accidents, happy mistakes. We're gonna paint clouds. And then Alt, Weave Shot. And there we go, man. Efficiency. So there's our draw and talk concept, right? Again, something about the yellow. I'm not feeling the yellow. That blue looks kind of cool though. Not gonna lie, the blue looks kind of cool. Let's see, what other color? I could bring back the cyan. Like I said, I can always keep a hint to my history. So you get that, so that kind of works. Kind of like little like Dragon Ball-esque-ness there. Little something. Alright, so Draw and Talk has styles to it. You can clear them right here. So all these little effects that I did to it, they're known as like, in a sense, like a layer style, a sub-layer style. And then we have the rectangle. So here's our original rectangle, little red outline. I can go in there as well and apply layer style. Maybe I want it to glow. So I'll say, you know what, I need an outer glow. And that doesn't seem very outer. And we'll make a bright red so it like really pops. And it's at pin light, so we change it to like a screen. The screen is what gives it that pop feel. The only thing about this is that the spread goes into the actual screen itself. And it's like subtle. But at the same time, we don't want to distract from what you're seeing on the window right now. Like the art, the design of everything. I'm actually tapping my blue screen and it's making funny noises. I can add a stroke in the middle. We'll switch this to inside, so it's inside of it. Make it a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna switch it to screen so that it kind of glows. There we go. I said inside. It's kind of got like this glowing feel, right? And eventually I can, you can take it in. I could animate it in Photoshop. It's a pain in the buttocks, but it's possible. And it's like a flash. But I also don't want it to be a big giant distraction from what I'm doing. So I'm gonna hit Control J. I duplicated it. Obviously, as I duplicate it, it'll just get brighter and brighter and brighter because we're layering these abilities on top of each other. So I'm gonna Control T. I'm gonna do the shrinky shrink and say, you know what, this is where the Pilo is gonna go. Shift. Boom shakalaka. And maybe I don't want to be at the bottom corner. Maybe I want to be centered on the side. Yoink. But then again, it is taking a weird color vibe there. So let's go look at the layer style and see what is being affected that's causing it to be see-through. That screen, okay, the outer glow is normal. Because if we think about it, you know, if we look at the stroke has a gradient to it. The layer is normal. We didn't change anything on the layer. So what's causing it to be see-through? Why doesn't it have the same vibe as the rectangle? Because ideally, like if I drag this way, it's solid red, sort of. But over the blue, it takes on a whole different personality. But Porqué. Oh, you know what? I got another. Ideas always hit, right? Being that I, you know, kind of threw a hint at some of the stuff I'm into. So we use the comic lines. I have halftone shapes if I wanted to drop like a halftone, not a square. Sometimes you can't tell what the shapes are. Got the little dots. It's funny that it dropped both of them on there. Delete. Being ginormous isn't that bad of a concept. It really isn't. And then we play with the layer styles again. But it's all different vibes. But I don't want this shape, so I'm gonna hit delete. There we go. Oops, Command Z. I deleted the wrong ones. And let's turn this guy back on. So we're gonna keep that guy there. And look at speech bubbles. We'll drop a speech bubble down. I'm gonna hold Option. I'm holding Alt. It would be Option if I was on the Mac. Okay, cool. So far, so good. Dope. Let's go to the speech bubble shape. I don't know, is that too small for my personality? We'll increase the size. I'm holding Alt so it's equally distributed around all the corners, because that's kind of the goal, right? Again, I have no idea why or where in the world why it's doing what it's doing, but it's doing it. Let's flip it horizontally. Because maybe I could put like my name down here. Maybe. Do I even have that saved in my libraries? I have tons of stuff. There's my Sunday Fun Day. These are my esports files. See, it comes in handy. And if you guys wanted the social media stuff, I just drag the logo up top. And I can change the color. I do a color overlay on it. And maybe not so big, but I'm gonna zoom in, Command or Control plus or minus to zoom in. And then boom, boom shakalaka. I'm gonna double click. Like I said, I'm keeping it with this comic book theme, using also the Dodger blue and red. I'm gonna do a color overlay. White works, but I want Rojo. Boop. Oh, real quick, I don't know if you guys know this. Whenever this little exclamation mark shows up right here, that lets you know the color is unprintable. It's in a color scheme that will not print. Luckily for us, we're not printing anything, so we're good. We're golden. Super duper. Press the letter T, because that turns on my type tool, and then I gotta type in my information. Heart of Pilo, because that's my handle. Now that I'm looking at like the rectangle up close and personal, I'm not liking some of these little elements that are showing up in it. So let's go back to rectangle right here, because it's the rectangle copy. And I'm gonna turn off that stroke. And to be honest, I'm gonna take off the gradient too. I just want a normal color. There we go. Oh, here's another thing we can do, right? Because right now the way this square is set up, and you know, there's always stuff pops up while you're working on things, right? The way the rectangle is stroked, because that's the design term, is that it's stroked, right? Right here, you can actually change the way it's stroked. So right now it's taking away from our viewing pleasure, right? It's taking away from the canvas, the Photoshop stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch it to outside. So then we have more play on the inside. I'm gonna hit return and just leave it like that. And then I'm gonna double check to make sure that there's nothing else coming off of that or going into it. And then boom, cool. And I'm gonna make my name smaller. Like if you're on the stream right now, then you know who I am. I don't have to yell it off the top of the mountain. I really don't. Move it to the corner, control click. Nope, that's not what I want to click on. And sometimes with all these little elements, you can't control click. That's like the shortcut to like just click, activate your layer right away. So we go into our layer panels. Let's get my layer panel a little bit bigger. There's my IG flat logo. Drag it this way. Bounce it up. The only reason I didn't like low-key use the original Instagram logo with its radial colors, its ombre, is that it does match the color scheme. And usually when you're using like an actual company's logo, you don't want to change that color. You don't want to change those colors. You just keep it. You know, that's the company, that's what they're known for, right? Especially if you're being sponsored. You don't want to change the sponsor's information. They obviously designed that logo a specific way, and it's not meant for you to redesign it. All right, so we got a little bubble here. See, in that time I hold click, I clicked and control and clicked, and it worked. Same thing with the text. The Instagram one is a little too on the small side, but control click, and it activated my speech bubble that I'm on right now. So I'm gonna press the letter A, and then I'm gonna turn off my fill color. We're gonna apply the stroke. We're gonna make sure the stroke is fitting on the outside because it gives us more. Maybe increase the stroke just by 2. I know the other stroke is an 8, this one's a 6, and we're going to keep it just like that, keep it simple. So now I got to figure out camera placement, because ideally right now I'm laying into the scene. Because there's a couple things I could do here. I can adjust my layer mask. I can rasterize everything and just start super photoshopping everything. But at the same time, there's certain things you don't over want to do. So maybe in this case, maybe the bubble doesn't work. The bubble's too big. Because we don't want it to creep into the actual canvas where the magic happens. We want it to be its own little thing. So, you know. Oh, the other cool thing about the bubble is that since it's a shape, I can get the pen tool and remove whatever things I don't need. So now it's just this round square. And I think we were talking about it earlier about moving the rectangle up to the center. So it's kind of like right there. Not too shabby. But you know, let's play with the square. So that gamer flick right there. I'll take it this way a little bit, just using the keys on my keyboard. Just, you know, squaring it up just a little bit more. Because ideally what's going to end up happening, if for some odd reason it doesn't look straight, I don't know if it's just me, but it really looks like it went down a smidge, which is weird because I don't recall pressing the down key or the down arrow. I guess that would work, right? The down key. Tappy. I'll let it like step into there. Control click. And then I'm gonna go delete, alt delete. I said alt delete. Boom, boom, boom. So that's where I'll be. That's where the Pilo will be. And I could have made this all look like TV screens and gone that route, right? So there we go. Cool beans. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so that's a 2-screen, right? I usually I don't often do 3 screens unless I'm drawing on paper. But then again, even like this, my live, okay, cool, works. Weird that my Photoshop screen is not all there. That's interesting. Okay, cool. That's me drawing with an iPad. So yeah, it's not, I don't use 20 million windows, even though I have multiple cameras, but it's not necessary for this. Dope. Okay, cool. So far so good. So we try to mimic it. This right here does have a lot of resemblance to my DrawToons layout, except for it's more square and more stuff, but I did borrow some elements from it. Again, this comic book stuff, this cartoon stuff is something I've always been a fan of, so it comes in handy. Go back to this one. And if I wanted to think like, okay, so if I wanted to make this look like a comic book panel, what do I have to do? I can add other shapes into here. I can break it down some more. We can go on the web, right? Because as a designer, you should be researching. You should always be looking for inspiration, not necessarily 100% stealing from somebody, but looking for inspiration is always beneficial, especially when you come into that creative block. Like doing a comic book panel will be pretty intense because there's a lot that goes on in a comic book panel. If you're doing like a talk show, like a podcast, like a visual podcast, you can totally do that because then you can put everybody in its own panel and all that fun stuff. But in this case, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm just going to keep it simple. Yeah, it'd be a pretty interesting concept to make a comic book panel layout. Curious, and it does start triggering ideas. It really does. But for now, let's focus on the draw and talk, right? So okay, boom. Let's get myself another little U. Press the little U on the keyboard, activates my rectangle tool. I could put stream information on here if I wanted to. Website. My shop, which I've contemplated closing. Not my TeePublic as much as my Storenvy, because that was my Storenvy has all my original artwork on it, post-its and all that fun stuff. But I think it's run its course for the amount of years I've had it and the amount of action it gets. So I have low-key thought about, maybe I save myself $5 a month. Let's make it a little bit more yellower. Trying to make it look like dingy comic book almost. I should just go open my DrawToons template and work off that, but nah. Which ideally this rectangle, if I clone it up here, that'll cover my social media deeds, and I just held control and I clicked and dragged so that way it goes with it. And again, we're back to that whole understanding efficiency in your shortcuts, right? Control T. I just hit my rulers, but it's okay. So Control T, Shift, yoink this way, shift it down. It legit does not have to be ginormous, everybody. And now I can actually click on both of the icons and make it fit. And now, because this is yellow, we change the color to black. And it has a little low-key pop. So make sure you follow Art of Pilo on the gram. I think I even pasted on my Draw Tunes with DJ Epic with the Cerritos All Stars, I have a QR code. If you think about it, though, if you're watching on this, you can't really scan it. The only time you can scan it is if you're on the computer. But the link is below on my Twitch profile. If you wanted to shop my TeePublic. And you just saw me type it on screen. Control T. I also spelled it wrong, so let's not type that one out on the search engine. Who knows where that'll take you. Get my move tool, let's bring it back. Let's make sure it fits the square. Holding Alt on the keyboard so it shrinks down equally and evenly. So if I zoom out, this is what we have so far for a draw and talk. Now if we're talking about design, if I'm going to do this for like designing and stuff, let's research a little bit. You put the Photoshop and Illustrator logo and all that fun stuff in there, but is that really what I want? And ideally, you know, I could keep the same scheme, right? So this is double window. Now remember, you gotta label your stuff, keep it organized, so you know what is what. So you got full screen, no me, but we don't have some of these other elements, right? Which is a simple fix. Turn off. Let's go into the full screen. And you know what I'm gonna do? Make it a lot easier. I'm gonna take these two guys, Control J, which is gonna clone them, and then I'm just gonna drag them down into this folder. Which you're like, yo, P, the lines. I get it. No biggie. No problemo, my viewers. No problemo whatsoever. Because remember, we got this here, right? I'm going to delete the layer mask. I right-clicked. Whoops, Control Z. Delete again. Delete again. Okay, so those they're wiped. They're donezo, right? And then I'm going to hold Alt, drag, Alt, drag, and then boom, I did my layer masking again. Now the one thing I didn't do to this one that I did to the other one is the rectangle, press A on the keyboard to make sure that I can go into my other move tool. This is kind of more of a direct move tool, more of a, I can move my anchor points, right? Turn off the color, flip it to a stroke, switch up the stroke to be on the outside so we get more real estate for more bang for our buck. And this is where I realized that because I did that, I gotta adjust my layer mask. Make that an ocho, so it's nice and thick. Alt delete, and then Alt delete. Oh, also it helps if I put this on top. Ta-da! Reorganize my layers of my sandwich, and then boom shakalaka, there we go. Alright, so we're into this. We got a full screen layout, we got a double screen layout. Oh, it's because you can see the full screen. There we go, boom. So I'm gonna copy elements from the double screen and bring them back into the full screen. So boom, boom, boom. And I think these two rectangles. Control J. Those are my clones. I'm gonna drag them all the way down to the next folder and let go. So I turn this off, turn this on. Ta-da! So, just some readjustments. What up, Cryptic? Thanks for the follow, appreciate it. That's this rectangle right here. Let's get my move tool, which is the letter V. Yeah, not right now, thanks. Random distraction from my virus software. No. Sometimes technology just wants to be weird. Line it all up. Drop it down a little bit. And I also don't want the red and the black to bite into each other, so, you know, space them out accordingly so it looks nice and flush. Now what I'm going to do here to help myself out is I'm going to bring it back and put it next to its actual layer. I can link them together. I can group them in a folder. If I link them together, it's just click, right click, and then link the layers. This way, wherever they move, they stick together. So that does come in handy. And then we got the other one, which is this guy right here, right? Yep. And then we move it up, flush. And then we'll link those too. So wherever I move them, they stay together. So let's zoom out, right? There's kind of like your basics, right? A little comic book vibe. The full screen, since the intent is to show you more of what's happening on campus, like right now, what I'm doing right now. There is no me. There's no me like you see me right now. So let me lower the camera a little bit there. There's no me right now on this screen, just like there's no me if I go to my full live screen. And all you see is the Photoshop side of things. Which I have no idea why Photoshop looks like that on that screen. Like if I go full screen, you lose everything. So it's kind of funny. But, you know, there's that. So if you guys notice, on my full screen here, I didn't change the color to any of the logos. I kept them original. If we look at this right here, this Instagram logo is a flat black logo. It's very minimal, so I'm able to change the colors because ideally you see it, you recognize it, you get the idea that this is the gram. But on my overlay right now on stream, I didn't change the logo colors whatsoever. And then boom. So even on this one, I kind of let myself kind of cut into the window a little bit. It's not a bad concept. Luckily in Photoshop, there's nothing of importance there, so we're not losing anything, man. We're good. Big shout out to everybody on the stream right now. What up, MG Dose? You lurking? My buddy James from the NASEF world. Violets, how you doing? So there's that concept, right? What up, D? That's my brother from another mother, guys. DJ Epic. Oh, nice. See, tonight's my wife's grandmother's birthday. I think she's 91. So I was gonna stream at 4, but we're gonna go deliver flowers. So I figured I have time right now. Let me jump on, kind of work this design process. Oh, that's what's missing on this one. The logo. The logo isn't on this one. So let's clone that. Take it out of the folder real quick. Boom. And I could keep it there if I want, but I'm gonna just keep myself organized. Yeah, today's her official birthday. It's crazy. See, my only problem with this current layout is the logo. Switch it up. The logo would cover the tools, or will cover the layers in Photoshop. So if I were photoshopping, thank you. If I was in Photoshop like I am now, you wouldn't see the trash can in the layers, the new layer, or the folders icon. So it's like, where do you place it? Or do you just leave it logo-less? So if I make it too small, oh, you know what? I'll place it on screen. Because ideally in Photoshop, there's nothing down in this region, so it works. Everything's always to the right because of all the panels and the palettes or whatever you want to call them, and then the tools are on the left, and I don't do anything too crazy with the tools. But okay, cool, that works. That makes me think now too that when I'm on this one, it kind of gets in the way. I feel like the logo is kind of like a talk show. without the drama. I don't care if it covers me. A little larger on the full screen or the double screen? Okay. Control T. Let's make it a little bit bigger then. Boom. There we go. Let me save this before something chaotic happens to the world of Larios. So this all actually worked out. There, good, cool. Yeah, I appreciate the audience participation. It helps. So Tuesday's stream led to the idea of draw and talk with Pilo, which is what, you know, today is more of a design and talk, which then helped me create this thumbnail, which is all Dodger color base, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety, but it works. And I took the concept of the logo, hit it out on the side right here in the red, so it's subtle. And then because I was drawing faces, it was faces in Procreate. So I took those elements and kind of applied it to this little one right here, and I applied it to this one. And luckily I have all my colors saved, so you know it comes in handy that I have them all saved. So that's that. My rectangles got confusioned. Bubbles, bubbles, copy. Okay. Okay. Well, that's the red one. Should be able to tell it's red, but you know, sometimes the eyes do play tricks on us. There's my sports teams. And it's funny that the Dodger red is a little bit on the light side. It's not as blinding, which isn't a bad thing. Which on the draw and talk, I gotta change that too. Now that I have it loaded up. Click, click. So then it all kind of blends in together. A little more smoothly. Boop. Even though low key, I kind of like the idea of that super bright red, but it still works. I think the red I was using was the CAS red originally. This guy, yeah. Cool. And I was kind of playing off the idea of like the Draw Tunes layouts a little bit, and like my whole thought process, as I said at the beginning of the stream, was I was trying to design an overlay that is more reflective of who I am, my interests, my like love for the arts. So I went this route because I'm a big comic book dude, and the colors ideally, in a sense, originally, even with this thumbnail, are a playoff off Superman's colors: the red, the blue, the yellow, the chest crest. So you know, those that know me would know that Pilo is a giant Superman fan, and Deadpool, but more Superman. So that's how this all kind of came to be. That's a great question, D. That is a great question. It also depends on when we're doing our next event. Because ideally, I think Quest said it'd be the 16th, which means ideally we would be rocking this Saturday, but I think this Saturday is too soon. Yeah, I was almost thinking the 16th, and we should push maybe our event to the 23rd because that seems a little bit more reasonable. I feel like we just finished one. But I guess we can talk that out in our next meeting. Plus, I got Marco's project to work on too, so it's just like that's not really like I'm kind of like excited for it. All right, so that's single. So I got a single, full screen. Oh yeah. Okay, so like I said at the beginning of when I started the stream, is that when I do an overlay, I start one and then I kind of clone from there and then readjust the clones. So I'm gonna clone my full screen. I'm gonna rename it SS because it's gonna be my starting soon screen. So let's undrop that layer. Then I'm gonna delete all these layer masks because I don't need them. There's gonna be no middle ground. It's the page, which I could play off of this. I could totally play off this thing that I did for this. Let's get my rectangle. Low key, I wanted to do something. Low key, I wish I had more low key. Low key, I wish I had more time because I wanted to like animate some of this stuff, but I don't. Okay, where am I getting this red line from? It's this. There we go. So, and I also remembered that I have this big ass project, excuse my language, for work coming up. So I'm like trying to figure out the schedule for that too. It's bananas. They actually approached me with the concept before going on break because I had finished another video project for them. And well, they want me to do another one and it's way bigger. So I'm asking for one of my other teachers to help me like kind of collab with me on it. I'll probably still end up doing a good chunk of the work, but if they can help, that is beneficial. Okay, I don't think the Drawn Talk has to be that big, especially if I start that starting soon. And then let me adjust my stroke a little bit. Go up 2. Dang, what did I do last that I made it at 38? This is a cool thing about being able to design something in Illustrator and then bring it into Photoshop and still kind of manipulate it, but get your original layout done texturally in the software that's designed for logos. Yoink. Control T. Let's rotate that bad boy. Actually, I might cut off the Pilo part just for the sake of this. I'm gonna do that like so. Control click on my rectangle here. My Japanese flag's on. Control Shift I and then boom shakalaka. I did it backwards. Awesome. Didn't have to Control Shift I. There we go. Huh? What is that dot? KSSO. It is also being uberly weird, so I don't know if it's because of what I just did, but my blends aren't taken into effect, which sometimes could be Photoshop just being tonto. Let's see. Let me delete the layer mask. Nope, stop. Oh, that's the top of the O. No, that has nothing to do with it. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, that's the middle one. Hit save. This happens pretty often when I'm usually designing on my Mac. I don't know why it does it, but it's just like, not today, my dude. But today it's actually happening on my PC, which they each do their own like weird little things. They have their own little weirdnesses, and it's doing it right now. Why did you do that? It's because I have the picture selection. Yes. Oop. Seriously? Gosh, my tots. There we go. But then again, it's still not doing what I need to do. And I think I just opened up Illustrator. Yep. So what happens when you get click happy? And your gamer mouse clicks faster than normal. There we go. Usually by now, by me doing that, it lets me go through all the colors, but or all the different preferences. Alright, so I'm gonna leave that for now. But the goal is to like kind of fade it out. I know what I'm gonna do. This part will work. Come on, technology, help me out here. Actually, it didn't work. That's interesting. Let me clear out the layer styles. There we go. That was very interesting. So ideally the plan was to, there we go. Kind of do something like that. Let me fix that again. And then get my move tool. What is going on, computer? That's when Photoshop's like, yo, dude, you're done. You can't work anymore. You're gonna call it a day, my dude. Delete my layer mask. It doesn't work because it's a different spot. Get my brush. Wipe myself out of existence. And then boom. Okay, cool. Draw it like I talk it. Draw it like I talk it. What? Draw it like I talk it. What? Draw it like I talk it. Alright, cool. That's that. Cool. Click. Boom. You know what? I might just put this here. And just keep this up here. It's all just placeholders right now, so I'm like not 100% in love with the placement yet, which is normal. Some things just don't flow out as quickly as others do. A little faster music. See if the Avatar playlist gives me a little something more. Faster. So I gotta think about starting soon, right? So like ideally I can do it here, like play starting soon here, and then animate it to go starting soon. Even like come out of nothing, like just nothing. What is un? What is un with you? I could even hypothetically like throw in like one of those little comic book explosions, which I almost could just export this out to After Effects and do all that, do this animation part stuff there. That's the one thing I didn't change originally, and I guess it works based off the layout. These comic book like excitement lines for the other overlays were based or designed with the idea of, did I really just do that? Yeah, I did that. All the way live. Alright, so this is now starting soon. And this is full screen. So as I was saying, originally the idea was that the excitement lines were going towards the center of the screen, and on this full screen, these I have to come this way more. For the 2 screen, they're centered. It works. And there, we're back to normal. Let me just check this rectangle real quick. Cool, going on the outside, dope. Make a selection. Flip it. Dip it. Cool. Alt, click. And then we're back to normal. See, like nothing ever happened. Only way you would know is if you were watching this. And alt click, option click would be the same thing on the Mac. So for those Mac users, you ain't losing much. All right, cool. So now we're back. We're back to normal. Boom. So this is starting soon. Like I said, I'm gonna animate this kind of flashing at us. And if in this case, I could do a yellow, like boom, 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 and then we're kind of good. And then just kind of flip it, reverse it for an ending screen. Control J, end it. The clone shortcut, Control J, Command J if you're on a Mac. And then ideally, all I was gonna do for this. Straight up, all I was going to do for this is Control T, flip, and bring it to this side. So I can tell my students, you know, if you have something designed and it works, no reason to reinvent the wheel. Just modify it. And then we'll just delete the layer masks. And boom. And obviously these guys are linked, so I can put it down in the bottom, rearrange it. Boom. And then the squiggles, the comic book zooms, just move them this way. So they're kind of centered with the wording. And then we just change the words. I didn't add a space there. if I wanted to get clever with it, then I can rotate it. Just so it kind of lines up at the bottom of the... Boom. Then we just center this stuff to the zoom lines. I'm not digging the 4 though, to be honest. Delete. Boom. And then I'm just gonna export this out to After Effects, and then I bring that stuff to life. In this case, we'll bring this way, just a smidge, and then we'll take the other one up, just like so. And then boom, there you have it. We have kind of a whole start to finish. We got our start screen, we got our ending screen, we have our live on stream with 2 cameras, and we went through that whole process with some hiccups, but that's normal, right? To be hiccupless, to be errorless would be not right, would be uncivilized, as they used to say in that Old Spice commercial. I think it was Old Spice. So there you all have it. Thanks for tuning in today, man. Love the guest appearances. My Cerritos All-Stars fan for tuning in. Let's switch it up, right? That just lets you know that now that I designed one for Draw and Talk with Pilo, I gotta do a design and talk with Pilo, and then I gotta do just another one just to, you know, have another one, because it's what I do. It's the artist in me. So like I said at the end of all my streams, thank you guys all for watching. Appreciate you all. Love you all for being here. If you can support the creator by shopping the links below, the Stormy, the Team Public, please do so. Bring a friend to the stream. Tell a friend we're streaming, we're live. The plan is to be Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon, and then Sunday fun days on Sundays, probably midday afternoon, depending on how laundry goes with the Pilo family. But again, thank you guys all for watching. Love you all. As I say at the end of all my streams, deuces. If you got the emote, drop the emote in the chat.